Hello all, myself Sudharani, working as Assistant Professor in Mlritm, Hyderabad. Today, my session will be on Introduction to Biodiversity. Biodiversity is the topic which has been covered in Unit 3. Biodiversity, its importance and its conservation. So today I'm going to deal with a concept called biodiversity. What is biodiversity? Levels of biodiversity and importance of biodiversity, especially the hotspots of biodiversity. These are the topics which I'm going to cover in today's class. So firstly, what is biodiversity? So if the world is divided into 10 billion parts, one part will be of life. One part of the world will be filled with life. So that is what I want to start with my introduction with. So living component or the life on earth is restricted to some very, very few areas. So bio is life, diversity is the variety and variability of life. So biodiversity was first been coined by Walter G. Rawson in 1986. So he is the first person who coined the term biodiversity. As I am talking to you, bio is life, diversity is the variety and variability of life. So here, before I start the topic of biodiversity, let me give you, there are numerous, you can say, variety of life on earth, variety of species on earth. So we are going to deal today's topic with the variety of life and what are the levels of biodiversity. These are the topics which can be covered in today's session. So here you can see it comprises of complex collections of innumerable organisms known as biodiversity, which constitute the vital support for the survival of human race. So all these organisms are important, are vital, because they support the life on earth. So here, biodiversity, abbreviated as biological diversity, represents the sum total of various life forms such as unicellular fungi, the protozoa, bacteria, and multicellular organisms such as the plants, the fishes, and the mammals at various biological levels, including genes, habitats, and the ecosystems. So that is what we mean by biodiversity. Numerous species are involved. Numerous living components are involved in this biosphere. Next, so bios, it comes from a word called biodiversity. Bios, Greek word which means life, and Latin word diversitas, which means variety or difference. So the whole word of biodiversity generally therefore means the variety of life. So different varieties of life here. So it is a degree of variation of life. It is a measure of variety of organisms present in different ecosystems, which makes life possible on this earth. So that is biodiversity. Next, what are the levels of biodiversity? As I was talking to you in the introduction, we are going to talk about the levels of biodiversity also. There are 3 levels of biodiversity. First is genetic diversity, then we have species diversity, then ecosystem diversity. 3 levels of biodiversity. So what is genetic biodiversity? So all the humans come under only one particular species. We call ourselves as Homo sapiens, but we are different from each other. Why are we different from each other? Because of the combination of genes here. So each one of us are different because of the genetic variations. So that is what I mean by genetic diversity. Okay, next level we have species diversity. Many species are present on this earth. Many species. So it is, according to one report, it is about 50,000 species which are present on this earth and which form a very, very vital role in supporting life on this particular biosphere. Then ecosystem diversity. Ecosystem diversity is also a level of biodiversity where there are different ecosystems. There are oceans, they are the driest deserts, there are depth of the oceans. Even in the deepest part of the oceans, there is life. Maybe it is scanty, but there is life. Even in the hot deserts, there is life. So these are the levels of biodiversity. The three levels, as I'm talking to you, it is genetic diversity, species diversity, and the ecosystem diversity. Next. So as I was talking to you, ecosystem diversity, it refers to the place at the level of our ecosystems. So it refers to variation in species rather than ecosystems. For example, if I'm showing you this particular picture, excuse me, which represents ecosystem diversity. Here you can see there are hills and mountains. Okay, in the bottom of the mountain or a hill, you can see the diversity is more. And as you're going towards the apex of a hill or a mountain, the diversity becomes less. Life is there. Life is there here at the apex of the mountain. Life is there at the bottom also. But it differs. You can see the majority of the life is, we can see here at the bottom of the hill or at the basement of the hill, because availability of water or the availability of moisture, soil fertility, or abundance of sunlight, all these are the factors which makes life abundant at the bottom of a hill or a mountain. And here at the apex also there is life. But because the unavailability of all the nutrients or the soil or the sunlight or the oxygen or the carbon dioxide, here you can see the scanty level of life present at the apex of the hill or a mountain. That is what I mean by ecosystem biodiversity, where according to the ecosystem, the biodiversity differs or it changes. So, yes, as I was talking to you, it may be an ocean, it may be a sea, it may be a river, it may be a stream, life is there. Or it may be a desert, it may be a mountain, highest peaks of the mountain. There is life at a very, very scanty level. Maybe if the conditions are not suitable for the life to sustain. Okay. Next, genetic diversity. As I was talking to you, yes, genes play a very, very important role. The species are same, but the species, in the species, there are variations because the variability of genes. Genetic material is different from each and every individual. So that is what I mean by genetic diversity. For example, Oryza sativa is a rice plant. uh, in that is the original form, that is the what we call the species. But in that rice plant we have so many variations, thousands of variations in rice. There are wild varieties, there are local varieties, and the varieties which are rich in nutrients. Some may differ in the color, some may differ in the size, some differ with the nutrient value. So all this we are talking about genetic biodiversity, where the genetic material is different from each other. Next, species biodiversity. Species, as I was talking to you, according to your report, it is around 50,000 species present on this earth. So you can see there are different varieties of species here. So some are mammals, some are unicellular organisms, some multicellular organisms. Yes, all of them are living. So that is what I mean by species biodiversity. So three levels of biodiversity. One is genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. Yes. Next, the distribution of biodiversity, how it has been distributed. As I was talking to you, ecosystem wise, the distribution is different. So the flora and fauna depends on climate. Depending on the climate also, the biodiversity differs. If it is very cold, very hot conditions, yes, the diversity is little bit scanty. Okay, then altitude, depending upon the height. Next, the soils. The soil is rich with moisture, soil is rich with nutrient, soil is extremely rich with the compost material and all. Definitely, it is a good base for the life. Now, presence of other species. Most of the biodiversity is concentrated in the tropical region. So all these are the factors: the climate, the altitude, the soil, yes, and the presence of other species which can support this, the life. So all these are the basis or which support life on this earth. So distribution of biodiversity is dependent upon climate, altitude, soil. Okay, mostly. Next, then benefits of biodiversity. Then we are talking there are many, many millions of creatures on this earth. And then what are their benefits? So we get food or drinks from biodiversity, different varieties of life. Fuel we are getting from them, we are getting medicine from them, better crop varieties. So in one species only we get better varieties of crops from biodiversity. Industrial material like rubber and all we are dependent, paper, rubber and all we are dependent on biodiversity. Okay, so these are conceptive values which we take. So all this we are dependent on biodiversity. If we are coming to non-conceptive value, it is recreation. So nowadays we are going to sanctuaries, we are staying in the forest. There are night stays in the forest. There are tree homes, tree houses, and all. So all this recreation, education, and research. Yes, we are doing it in the forest, and traditional value. All these values are representing non-conceptive values. Recreation, especially education and research. In the forest, to some part of the forest, we have been allowed. So all this, research on life. All these are the benefits of biodiversity. As we are totally dependent on them, so we have to conserve them, protect them, to make ourselves, comfortable on this particular earth. Next. Then ecological services. So what exactly this biological or biodiversity or biological diversity, in what way it is helping us? In what way it is helping the human race? So you can see there is a balance of nature and biological productivity, definitely regulation of climate, and degradation of waste. So the soil, the microorganisms which are present on the soil, they are natural scavengers. Okay, so degradation is possible, cleaning of air and water, cycling of nutrients. There are different cycles which are going on in the ecosystem. So these cycles are being regulated by this biodiversity, ecological services. And then pest and disease causing species. There is a control of potential pest and disease causing species. And detoxification of soil and sediments. Stabilization of land against erosion, carbon sequestration, and global climate change, and maintenance of soil fertility. All these are the ecosystem or ecological services which are being provided by biodiversity. So regulation of climate, or definitely the cycles which are going in the atmosphere, which is making life sustainable on this particular earth. All this is because of the different varieties of forms of life which are regulating the climate here. And you can see the maintenance of soil fertility, yes, carbon sequestration, and global climate change. All these are some of the ecological services. Next. Then hotspots of biodiversity. So what do we mean by hotspot? Hotspot is where the maximum life is concentrated. So those areas we call them hotspots. According to one study, there are about 32 hotspots in the world, and out of which we have 4 hotspots in our own country. So yes, we'll talk about the introduction to the hotspots, what about them, approach to hotspots, and conclusion. Now, biodiversity is referred as variation of plant and animal species in a particular habitat. Species evenness and species richness form the components of biodiversity. India is known for its rich biodiversity, has around 24.46% of the geographical area covered by forests and trees. Okay, so it is coined by a scientist, Norman Mayers. The term biodiversity hotspots specially refers to, actually it is 32 biological rich areas around the world which has lost around 70% of their original habitat. So it is like coined by a person, by Norman Mayers, and they refer to almost 32 hotspots around the world where the concentration of life is there. And according to a report, it is 70% of in these areas it lost its original habitat. So what are these biodiversity hotspots around the world, and why we have to conserve them is the topic today. And especially biodiversity hotspots in India. So in India also there are about 4 biodiversity hotspots which have been identified in our own country. So here, the vast range of biodiversity, over 91,000 species of animals and 45,000 plant species have been documented in India, and the documentation is still ongoing process. Okay, now we have four rich biodiversities in India. Let us look into them. Yes, the Himalayas. So this is one of the first biodiversity where it covers around Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Arunachal Pradesh, and Meghalaya. So these areas, these states, they have huge reserves of species. All these are being concentrated in these particular areas. So Himalayas is one of the hotspot. So there are many species found here and still counting. The number is been increasing. Okay, next we have the Indo-Burman regions, which covers the northeastern states of our country. So these places also are rich with biodiversity. The amount of life present here is abnormally rich, so we are calling it as hotspot. So the northeastern states of India comprise are said to be, or Indo-Burman regions, we call it as one of the biodiversity hotspots in our country. Next, the Sunda land. So it is across Nicobar group of islands which comes in India. So in India, whatever Nicobar islands we have, on those islands, because the diversity of life has been rich, it is termed to be one of the hotspot in our country. Next, Western Ghats. The Western Ghats is one of the latest additions to the list of biodiversity hotspots in our India. So this is actually towards the southern side. So here we have huge varieties of life here. So that is why it is also been termed as one of the hotspots of our country. Okay, now when we are talking about mapping, so you can see here Himalayas. When we are looking into the map, this area, one of the hotspot, then Indo-Burman region is this particular area. The eastern part, the northeastern part, we call it Indo-Burman region, one of the hotspot. Then the Sunda land, as I was talking, this is the Sunda land. It is in the Nicobar Islands, which come into our country, that is which are a part of our country, that we call it as one of the hotspot, the Sunda land. And next we have Western Ghats. Western Ghats are this part of our country. So you can see in our map the four hotspots of our country. So one is the Himalayas, next the Indo-Burman regions, next we have the Sunda land, this Nicobar Islands, next we have Western Ghats. So all these four areas, we are terming them as hotspots present in our country, and it's high time that we conserve them or protect them to make our life sustainable. Okay, next. So what are the strategies? How to, conserve biodiversity, especially in our country? What strategies we are using to protect them? So all the varieties of food, timber plants and livestock should be limited, and agricultural animals should be limited. Economically important organisms should be identified and conserved. So where we are dependent economically, so those organisms should be identified and they have to be conserved. Unique ecosystems should be preserved first. Whatever we feel like that particular ecosystem is unique, something special, they have to be preserved. Then the resources should be utilized efficiently. So then only, our dependence on nature will reduce, and definitely it's a way of conservation of ecosystems. Poaching and hunting of wild animals should be prevented. So this poaching of animals or hunting of animals. Okay, so these should be completely prevented, or proper action should be taken to prevent all these poaching actions. Next, the reserves and protected areas should be developed carefully. Levels of pollutant should be reduced in the environment. So especially we have to concentrate on environmental pollution also, which directly or indirectly affects the life in different parts of our own countries. Deforestation should be strictly prohibited. So forest areas should be conserved and protected. We have Forest Conservation Act in our, in our country also we follow it, and definitely the forests are being protected. They have been conserved. Environmental laws should be followed strictly. So if we have to conserve the biodiversity, definitely the environmental laws should be followed strictly. And the useful and endangered species of plants and animals should be conserved in their nature as well as in their artificial habitats. So very useful ones, very unique ones are endangered species. Of course, we are doing it. We are getting those species to the zoos. We are giving them extra protection so that they don't be extinct. So that laws already we are following it. More seriousness in those matters where the species are said to be endangered, they have to be identified, they have to be protected, brought to different habitats. In their own habitat we can protect them, but bring to a different habitat where a close monitoring is being there, so there also we can protect them. Then public awareness should be created regarding biodiversity conservation and its importance. There should be a public awareness should be there. Everybody should know about its importance. Why nature is important. Why every life on earth is important to us. So that is how we can, these are the strategies to conserve biodiversity hotspots in our country. So this is almost the last part. So most biodiversity resources are consumed by humans. So biodiversity resources, whatever we get from them, we are the ones who consume them. So it is our primary responsibility. So our responsibility to protect and preserve biodiversity, to protect the earth. In order to make life possible, we have to protect them because we are the best users. We are totally, directly and indirectly dependent on them. The richness of species, the ecosystem and the environment and the sustainable growth of life on earth is important. Definitely the species are important, ecosystem is important, the environment and sustainable growth of life on earth is very, very important. So this is the conclusion, because we are using it, we are using different products of biodiversity directly and indirectly. We are totally dependent on them. So definitely we have to conserve and protect them. So that is the conclusion here. And these are some of the links which I have taken the notes from. Thank you for today. Let's meet with the next session. Thank you.